Hi, welcome everyone to the live stream. We have Ajax with us, Popimento with us, and we have a special guest today. We have Wayne. Wayne, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. Ajax is very much my second team. Sometimes people ask, they're like, we know you're a Roma fan, but tell us, is there anyone else? I'm like, Ajax, honestly. I love Amsterdam, love the Netherlands, love traveling there, hanging out. So it's like I grew up in New York. So Amsterdam is very much it's the original New York, New Amsterdam. So here I am.
You're not
Without
just
the
But
saying that.
next time when you have to hang with us, if you
Yeah,
visit Amsterdam.
That's
for
true.
sure.
That's true. You're not just saying that because you're on the channel, right? You're getting like a lot of difficult questions coming up.
No, one, I've traveled there. I've been to Amsterdam 3 times, but secondly, I've been to the stadium. I saw Ajax play against Willem in 2018, and they won. Ziyech played, and that's when I saw just how good in person Tadić was. I don't think that world football thinks of Tadić as this extremely, profound player, but what I saw was one of the last number 10s in world football. And from that on, hanging out with I wouldn't call ultras. Ajax didn't seem aggressive like that. It seemed like an excellent atmosphere, honestly, and that really turned me on to the club. And I had so much fun there. I'm trying to get back as soon as I can.
Perfect. You let us know,
Awesome.
right? All right. So let's dive right in. We asked you to be here. We want to talk about a player that we just bought from AS Roma, um, Tahirović. So I will also give Papimento, Ajax people who are watching right now, if they want to ask you questions as well, they can drop it in the comment section. Can you tell us a little bit about the profile of the player first, if that's okay?
I think this is the next big number 5 for Ajax, to be honest with you. I think he's somebody who can play really well next to a number 8. And I think we know who we're talking about there as this part of this new generation of Ajax players. He's 20 years old. He's big, tall, strong. He's going to win you the ball back. But the one thing that I think might be a little bit underrated is how well he can actually play zone when he's without the ball. And I think that's going to be fundamental to a team like Ajax when it comes to European play, when they are out of possession, because there are going to be teams as you get out of the Dutch league who are going to hold the majority of possession. But Tahirović is a guy that you could, in my opinion, trust to be that guy next to Kenneth Taylor. I don't know what the status is with Taylor going forward, but I think if they are able to keep these two in like a 4-2-3-1 in that two-man midfield, or even a 3 you could get away with, I think that Tahirović is the perfect complement to a more of a director type midfielder, a holding midfielder. He's the guy who will win you the ball back, play the simple pass, and allow total Dutch football to go on.
All right. You said number 5, but I think you mean number 6, right? Pivot.
Yeah, more of a number 6. Yeah, it's true.
All right, perfect.
6 would be
Ajax.
a better analogy.
Yeah, no, it's clear. I knew what you were saying. It's fine. Ajax, do you have a question for Wayne?
Yeah. Kijk, we can really ask you a lot. We can ask you about his qualities, his deficiencies. But I want to ask a little bit different question because I think we will get into those areas eventually in the stream. I've heard Mourinho speak very highly of him earlier this season, saying that he is like a talent that could be a next hot thing. Like very fondly he spoke of him. Why are they letting him go for only 8.5 million if Mourinho is like so fond of the player and think he's like one of the bigger talents coming up the ranks at Roma? It baffles me a bit. So it's a bit contradictory for me, him saying that, but the club letting him go for 8.5 million. So yeah,
I'll
curious
be
to see.
honest, in that this sale came as a big surprise to many Roma fans. Essentially, we woke up one day and Tahirović was sold to Ajax. That's really how it happened. There were no links. I don't know if you recall. It just came totally out of the blue. And the conditions financially in Rome are that they have to sell 30 million euros worth of equity by the end of June. And today it's the 29th of June, or just about to be the 30th in the Netherlands. So the clock is ticking down. And Roma have sold off at this point quite a few gems. And I wouldn't call him a gem, but Dutch ex Ajax player Justin Kluivert was also sold. That didn't work out. And the other guys that are being sold off, though, are definitely ones with high potential. Teenagers, 20, 21 years old. And that's because Roma now have to sell to meet that deadline. Why? Because of what happened in the Europa League final, which I can go off on a whole tangent about that, which will get me upset. But also, then Tammy Abraham tears his ACL, a player which I would say 51% he was going to be sold. So right there, that's about 50 million euros worth of player that you thought you were going to have to be able to sell and not have to stress about the financial maneuvers before July 1st. And all of a sudden, Roma is in a much dire position than I think Thiago Pinto or Mourinho could have perceived, just a month prior. So
But
it's a necessity.
but can you elaborate a bit why they need to have that 30 million? Is it to balance the books going into the next year?
Correct.
Or okay, cool.
In order for Roma to avoid being penalized financially with points, with a player reduction in the team size, they have to comply this way. This is
So
unfortunately
it's
the
actually
only
a
way.
bargain for us because it is a necessity for you guys to sell some players.
Yeah, I think if you look at transfermarket.com, it'll tell you he's worth about 1.5 million euros, but those valuations are often incorrect. They don't take into consideration the profile of the player, how he actually played this year, what his pedigree is, where he's from, how he's being perceived by his own national team. And Tahirović is one of those guys that for Bosnia, he's Swedish-born Bosnian parents, that he's going to be not just of the new generation for Ajax, but also for Bosnia as they look to go forward. And I think right now they're at a down period, but he'll be the tipping point of a new Bosnia as well. So yeah, it comes out of necessity. The Roma fans are not too happy about seeing him go, but it was necessity.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, very, very, very nice to hear.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it gives much more perspective as well. Puppy, before you go, just quickly on the books, the financial books. I read something, I don't know if it's true or not, Wayne, but you know what happened to Juventus, right? With the financial reporting, they were inflating basically the transfers and stuff like that. I also saw like an article about Roma, not exactly the same, but also having some issues with the financial reporting. Is this just because they were looking at Juventus and now something came up for Roma, or is there some truth behind that story?
I don't think there's truth to it. I think what the league did is they took and they started to scrutinize every deal that occurred. The issue with Juventus is that they were caught, and there's actually tapes, there's footage or audio recordings of them admitting we have to do this we have to satisfy this in order to get here. And that's why it came down. If you value, let's say, Berghuis at 20 million euros and I value Tahirović at 20 million and we exchange, who's to say we're wrong? But the fact was that they got caught saying something literally on the tapes that got them in the hot water. That's where the issue comes from.
All right, clear. Puppy, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, of course. But my question is going to be more about his personality because, as Ajax said, I think we're going to get into the football stuff. And I see already the questions in the comments really about his football. So let's hold out on that a little bit. I just want to know his personality. What can we expect from him? Is he a leader? I know he's still young, but we are Ajax. We always have young players in our team. It's a rebuild season. What can we expect from Tahirović as a personality within this team?
Look, when you play for Roma, no matter the age, and you get onto that pitch, it's unlike any other stadium in the world. Maybe only Boca Juniors could compare to the type of environment. So in order for you to be a young player and to step on that pitch at the Olimpico, and I'll tell you that there's always tension surrounding the club. It's never just easy, Roma's doing great, they're up by 3-0. No, there's always some type of drama going on. So one, he rises to the occasion. Two, he was trusted by Mourinho. He would not be on the field if he was not a leader in his own right. Jose would not put him in that type of position if he did not trust in his mental and physical capabilities. So you've got that mixture, which allowed him to get those minutes. So when it comes time to really judging his character, look, still being developed, a young guy, 20 years old. Ajax, I think one of the perfect places for him, a place where he can really grow, where he will get that time, where he's not totally under the gun like youngsters are in Rome. Ajax, more or less, are considered the favorites every season. Of course, some seasons are a little bit different, but on average, Ajax are the favorites. So with that, he'll have good players around him. He'll have a little bit more stability, I think more of a sense of calm, and that will really help him develop with that serenity added as well. And then he can get valuable European play experience. So he comes from a background where he's already been entrusted with major responsibilities, and I think he'll fit in really nicely for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Clear. I have a question about his spell at Roma, right? You guys bought him very young.
Yeah.
He played for the under-19s basically at Roma. And then you could say, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, this season, last season was basically him, knocking on the door, getting his chances, making his debut, and also in the national team later on in the season. What kind of impression did he give you and also maybe the other Roma fans? What kind of impression do you have?
We liked him. Whenever he stepped on the pitch, he did what he needed to do. He was hungry. Maybe a couple steps were wrong here and there, but one, you expect that too, and two, the conditions were just not great for him to be out there. It was often because Roma ran out of midfielders. The injury crisis in Rome is like is a sub story of the club. It seems like every year there's a major ACL tear or something. So Tahirović came on in necessity, but when he did come on, I think we were really happy. Won the ball back, did what he needed to do. Was he scoring goals and making assists? No, but that's not his job. His job is to disrupt play, get possession back. And I think he did that very well. Was he dynamic enough in getting up the pitch? Was he agile enough for Roma's counterattack? Maybe not entirely. Maybe he really would benefit from a team that holds possession a little bit more. And then when they try to play on the counter, he can disrupt that. I think that's probably more of his game rather than having to be, if I think of like Wijnaldum 5 years ago could have been a great Mourinho player because he can hold that line. He can stay concentrated. He used to be able to, and then he can break. And I think that's more of a center mid for Mourinho. Whereas like what I'm seeing is somebody who would fit more into a possession-based side, even though he's not going to be that facilitator. He is that guy who can guard the defense. And I think that will be crucial for Ajax next season if he can fulfill that job.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a question from Ziggy AFCA, and he says basically, is he comparable to, I don't know if you know him, but Edson Álvarez? Have you seen him play at Ajax or maybe with the Mexican team? But he's saying like, is he better on the ball than Álvarez, or is he like more or less the same? If you know.
On the ball, I wouldn't say he's that type of midfielder. He's not a Spanish type midfielder where he's going to really look to get onto it. He's more of a disruptor. But what I think that his quality will be is occasionally he can switch the field. So he does show that football IQ. He's not going to be Xabi Alonso. Don't expect that out of him. But he will be able to play the simple pass. Occasionally, he'll pick his head up. He'll look around. He can play the big ball up. He actually is pretty decent at playing a straight through ball. So I think that's what you're going to get out of him. Comparative to Álvarez, I'm not so sure yet. I'm not sure if I've seen enough of Álvarez or Tahirović to say that they're like or dislike, but that is what you will get. Is definitely that old guard type, more of an old-fashioned defensive midfielder, which we don't really get to see these days too much anymore.
One more in-depth question about that area of his play, Wayne, if I may. You said that he can play a true ball. But is he comfortable playing the ball forward? Does he make progressive runs with the ball? Does he carry the ball forward a lot? Or is he more of a distributed to another player and just focus more on the defensive load and the awareness in the pitch?
Yeah, more of a distributor. I wouldn't expect him to break the press and take on a guy or two and try to beat them. That's not his game. Can he? If he disrupts a counter, yeah, sure. He can play with the momentum. But I wouldn't count on him to be that guy to make those piercing runs. He'll be more of the guy who looks to, like you said, distribute and keep the ball in play for his team.
But he's looking for those open lanes to distribute the ball forward, to make progressive
He's capable
passes.
of that, for sure. He's capable.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, he's not this let's say it's easy to peg him and say, oh, he can just play the simple ball and he makes a slide tackle and he intercepts. No, I think there's a little bit more to his game than that. I think that wouldn't be fair to him. He's a little bit better than that.
So it's more of a hybrid, you have the playmaker kind of player, that has all the flair and the runs and the passes. And you have like the Gattusos of this world, only defensively. He's like a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah.
So Wayne, I had a question as well. So looking at his profile, of course, his length, his height, 6'3", something like that. How is his aerial ability?
Excellent.
Can we say he's good?
Yeah, no, he's legit there. He's a legitimate force that you don't want to go 50-50 with this kid. He's going to win. He's strong. He's got that Balkan lineage in him, and he's very much built like that. So, and he's got a little bit of that attitude. Jose Mourinho famously said, not famously, but he said it somewhat recently. He said, I got the quote here. When he is Swedish, because he is born in Sweden, he says, when he is Swedish, he is calmer and relaxed. When he is Bosnian, he is my warrior. And when he is a warrior, he has incredible potential. He said that to Corriere dello Sport. So it gives you a little taste of what you could expect out of him. You want that warrior.
Absolutely. I have another question coming from Luca, which is interesting as well, because he mentioned that in our interview when he was signed, that he should work a little bit more on his defensive skills. So Luca's asking, does he need to grow in that area?
I think he needs to grow in every area. You're still looking at a raw 20-year-old. He just came from the academy. He's got a handful, less than 5 starts, couple of substitute appearances. You're looking at a raw player. Don't expect him to hit the ground day one against PSV or Feyenoord and put in a man-of-the-match performance. That's not what you got here. You got a little bit more of a project.
Yeah. Were you, if you look at the totality of the transfer right now, you know, like we bought him 8.5 million almost euros. Do you think this is a good fit for Ajax? Does it surprise you that Ajax snatched him from Roma?
It definitely surprises me. As far as the fit, like him next to Kenneth Taylor, I think that's a match. That's a true match right there. That he could really complement Taylor, allow him to maybe progress up a little bit more, be more confident, give him a little bit more time for the pass. I think it's going to be a great match there. Go ahead.
Just to interrupt you, because you're talking about Taylor, but we also signed Franco van de Bomen.
Branco. And, stop saying Franco, man. It's Branco.
Branco.
You always say Franco.
Yeah, I don't
know. Come on, man.
It's in my head. Anyway, he played at the Ligue 1, and we consider him actually to be the duo with Tahirović. So it might go instead of the Taylor one, as you're saying.
Interesting.
But you think, Wayne, that it's a better. I mean, we have to look at Branco, how he plays, etc. But you think those two types, Taylor, Tahirović, that's like a perfect blend, basically, on the midfield.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you want. You want that guy who's going to protect, and then you've got the guy who's going to distribute and be a bit more fluid, make those runs up the pitch. And somebody like Tahirović will allow that director, that number 8, or even to a degree, an 8.5 to a 10, to get further up the pitch and make the overall play of the team much better.
You know, it worries me a little bit though, Wayne, because in our current situation, last season, Álvarez is the defensive pivot, and he just lacks a little bit more of the passing play. Although he gets better, especially last season, we saw him do some things that we didn't see him do before. But if Tahirović would be our 6th this season, you know, besides a building up player like a Taylor, I expect that player to have like the qualities defensively that is needed. And if he himself says that he needs to grow in that area, and you also mentioned that it's not, you know, his strongest side yet, he can get there, but it needs time. I need somebody there that is comfortable, like defensively, to help out the squad. And it worries me a bit to know that he's not really there yet defensively. Do you think he can carry that load, like a really defensive 6? Because if he's more for the passing play and more of a hybrid player, you could consider him an 8 also, you know, like next to a strong defensive 6.
I think the Ajax perspective is a little bit different from mine, whereas maybe you do expect a 20-year-old to go out and play his game and be almost close to a finished product. But that's not the case. 99% of 20-year-olds are not going to go out there and be able to play and truly hold the game down right then and there from the start. It's going to take time. I think that if you are looking for that player, then you sign somebody like who you just did with Branco van der Bomen. So that's somebody who is 20 years old.
Frankie de Jong.
You know what it is. I'm not expecting him to be there directly for Europe. You know, I know it's a process and that players need to grow, especially if they're young. But for Eredivisie standards, it doesn't matter what age the player is. If they're in the team at Ajax, they're good enough. So age doesn't matter. Look at Hato this season in our team. He was 16 when he made his debut. He is 17 now, right?
Yes.
So he's still very young, and he is probably our best solution for the left back position. And we bought somebody there for 10 million that isn't performing the way he's performing there.
But let me react to that quickly, Ajax. I agree with you a lot, except for the fact that when a young player comes from the academy, it's easier for them to cope in the first team. If we get somebody from outside and he's young, we need to give them a little bit of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I'm saying for Europe, it's a different situation. But for Eredivisie standards, no matter what player you get, he should be better than you have in the academy. It should be a surplus value compared to what you have already in your academy or at your disposal. So if he is to play R6 as a 6 in our system, I expect him to be good enough or one of the better performers for the Eredivisie, because that is the level that is necessary for him to be a first 11 player, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, but like Wayne said, honestly, I mean, he just came around the block, right, at Roma. So it's like his first season. He didn't play a lot of games.
It's going to be the opposite style of what he's been playing for the past 3 years.
What I do like, though, guys, is that contrast with Vos, because Vos is a youth product. He's also a 6, but totally different kind of player, more better on the ball, but defensively, we also have to look if he's going to cope in the Eredivisie, and I think Tahirović can win it in that area from Vos still. So I like the competitiveness that we have 2 different options on the 6, definitely.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Okay, so I don't have any questions anymore. Ajax, Puppy, do you guys want to ask Wayne anything, or somebody that's watching right now? This is your final. Let me see. We have a question from Progressivo. He's saying, "Do you all think that Bassi can improve?" Okay, that's not about Tahirović. All right, I think that's it. Wayne.
I have one more question. If you have to, Wayne, just to wrap it up,
Yeah.
Every player has their traits, the things that they stand out in. If you have to mention one thing, it can be anything. It can be mentality, it can be the personality, but it also can be football traits. What is it that you think that this guy, Tahirović, stands out in? What is his quality trait?
He wins the ball back. He wins the ball back on the ground.
So his tactical positioning is
but not just tactical positioning, not just tactical, but also his physical ability to win the ball back from you and then initiate from there, and then to either get up and pass it quickly or to just completely disrupt your play.
Yeah, that is actually quite a good trait to have for a 6. So if that is his best trait, I'm a little bit more positive now. Thanks, man.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Wayne, for being on.
I think he's going to fit in really good. I do think that it's going to take maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, maybe a season. But I think that Ajax observed this deal and went forward with it because they believed in him. They must have seen something good, not just physically, but also from his personality perspective. They must have seen a young leader, which is why they paid over 8 million euros for a player who was 20 years old from a foreign league. So I think that this is someone who Ajax should and will give time to, and eventually he's going to become good for you. So I think this is a good deal in the making. I think you did good business here.
And just last question, Juan. Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, Wayne. Just last question.
No.
If you had to compare him with one player, a legend player, or somebody that you have seen played before, can you give an example of that?
Maybe like Juan Sebastian Veron, or that might be, that's such a dramatic comparison. But I think of like a tall defensive midfielder, somebody who was kind of nasty on the ball, could make like a big hit.
I heard he's been compared with Matic.
Matic, yeah, I've heard that too.
I think Matic is, Matic is somebody who, in my opinion, is world class. I think Matic moves a little bit more than Tahirović. To me, Matic is like a maestro. I don't think that, even though he's a defensive maestro, I wouldn't go that far.
But in all fairness, Juan Sebastian Veron was a world-class player himself.
That's
also,
true.
I thought he was a legendary.
But it's not so much. Yeah, but Wayne, it's not so much the level that we're talking about. It's more like the type of play.
And that's why I think Veron is more that style. Somebody who's like nasty in the tackle, will go through you and win the ball back. I think Gattuso, it's easy to say, like, you think of Gattuso and you think of him sliding around the pitch in Scotland. But I think their physical characteristics and their build is a bit different. Whereas I remember Veron being tall, lanky. Of course, I was like, 11 years old at the time. But I just remember this tall, bald figure being a tough guy that you didn't want to go up against. So that's why that's like the one player who just stood out to me. And I wasn't expecting.
Let's hope that he can turn into Juan Sebastian Tahirović eventually.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Wayne. Again, thank you so much for being on the show, for making the time for us. We really appreciate it. So you guys are playing Europa League this season?
Yeah, they made the Europa League on the last match day of the season. Yeah. They won at the very end or tied. I blocked a lot of that out of my memory. They should be in the Champions League right now if it wasn't for just some unbelievable refereeing that I think everybody outside of Sevilla, Spain saw. And it's just such a shame for Roma fans right now. But if you want to see what that day was like in New York City at Roma Club New York, you can check out my latest video that I posted last night at my YouTube, Wayne in Rome. Check it out. It's a smaller channel, but I'm working towards 1,000 subscribers. And my goal for that video was to show people what is it actually like at a fan club and what is the level that could be pushed to during a European final. So I think it's really cool for people who might not think, oh, the United States football. No, we have it in places. And in fact, in my opinion, this was the best social club outside of Italy that even inside Italy, they don't have fan clubs the way that we do here. So check that video out. It's my latest one. It's called A Day in the Life of a European Final. So
yeah, cool.
I'm happy that you call it football and not soccer. So that's a +1 for me already, man.
Yeah, you know what? When growing up, and I should say one of my greatest memories of being in Amsterdam, the first time I went was 2015. I remember walking around, and I was in Muiderpoort, and I just saw kids just playing football, like 7-a-side after school. I didn't grow up seeing that. I was the kid playing by myself at the park. So when I saw these kids playing just competitive in this little pitch, small-sided pitch, I was like, I don't know. Part of me just like fell in love with seeing that because especially in an age where everyone's on their phone or playing video games, these kids were out there balling. And I was like, that's it. That's being a kid. And I hope they never lose that. So that's where a lot of my love for Amsterdam comes from too. Just biking around and seeing the different neighborhoods.
Hit us up when next time when you're in Amsterdam. Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to get to the Copa 90 store. I think it's Copa 90. Copa. There's a flagship store. Let me look it up. Copa flagship Amsterdam. Yeah, Copa. It's I think it's still open. Where is it? It's in Prince Hendrikade. You're gonna kill me, my Dutch.
Prince Hendrikade. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will take you there. No worries.
Look, who knows? Maybe we'll play each other in the Europa League this season, and we'll meet.
I'd love to. I need an excuse to get back out there.
Right. People thanking you as well in the chat. Thank you for your contribution, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Go Ajax. Talk soon.
Have a nice evening, man.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Yeah.
That was interesting.
Ooh, I'm being upgraded. Wow.
You're being upgraded. All right. So, before I go to the comments, just quickly, and we're going to talk about other stuff as well because there was some news today regarding Ajax, regarding transfers, Timber, Álvarez, etc. Ajax, I want to give you the moment, the floor.
Wow.
To make an announcement. You already did it on Twitter, but not everyone that's watching us on YouTube is on Twitter.
Making me nervous, man, after 4 years.
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention, but please.
No worries. No. It's okay. Thanks for giving me the word, and I will tell what is on my mind. I do not know the ones that are watching if you're actually on Twitter, or if you have saw my page on Twitter. I posted something like 2 weeks ago. I do not know if it was on the weTalk pages or for the follower for the weTalk page. I do not know. But I want to explain that after 4 years, starting the channel together with Papi, together with Juan, with IZK behind the scenes, always doing the hard work and like the administrative part now also in the chat. I decided to call it quits as a regular panel for the weTalk for the weTalk group. So I will be here still occasionally, like as a guest now and then, but not as a regular anymore. The last 4 years been terrific. We're all friends already before we started the channel. We know each other for like 25, 30 years, most of us. I do not know if all of you guys know this, but we go way, way back. So I will always keep following weTalk and want the channel to do well, of course, and be part of it now and then. But after 4 years, it's time for me to call it quits and to focus on some other things. I'm a little bit tired also after those years, so taking a little break, maybe do my own content in the future. Not know yet. I have to think about it a bit. Could be in Dutch, could be in English, but I'm looking into the possibilities. But I just wanted to let you guys know and appreciate you all the support that you have been giving me personally, but also the channel, of course. So please keep doing that, because it's the best channel in my opinion, especially on Ajax. And I wanted to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for this journey the last 4 years. This 4 years have been amazing. We've been here from day one, when only like 10 followers in the beginning, and now we have a lot. We've done amazing stuff, from United View to BBC to a lot of crazy things. I remember that one story, Juan. Do you remember that? When we were up at like 2 o'clock in the night, you were doing an interview for the Ghana television about Kudus. Yeah. And I had a radio interview at the Ghana radio station. We were like apping together, like, still waiting, like 30 more minutes. So those fun things will always be remembered from my side. And I won't be a stranger to the channel, but I won't be the regular panel anymore that I've been the last 4 years. So thank you all, guys, and see you soon. And let's make it an awesome stream, the last 30 minutes of this video. So thanks for
absolutely
for the possibility.
Almost cried there, Ajax.
No, man. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Thank you, Ajax. Honestly, thank
Bye,
you.
Jax,
Thank you for everything, honestly. And look, like you said, right? You will be occasionally on the channel, so it's not like 100% closing the door. So that's fine. People also saying like, thank you. Was great watching you, but always keep coming back as a guest. So people are asking you to come back. Guys, I just want to go back on Wayne quickly before we move forward. What are your thoughts? Are you guys more positive after hearing him out, or are you guys more in doubt after hearing him? What do you think, Ajax?
I'm always positive with signings coming in. I'm a positive guy, as you all know. Sometimes a little bit too positive before the realism kicks in. But no, some things that he said make sense, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And also Mourinho dubbing him as a great player, that's something that excites me, I do not think at that stage of the season he is like playing mind games to like pump up his value, I think he meant it when he said it. So, he's been training under Mourinho, playing in a defensive league. So maybe for the Italian standards, he needs to grow more defensively. But maybe in Dutch standards, it's already sufficient enough, and he can only grow and get better in that area. So I do see him more of a 6 after what Wayne explained. But next to Taylor, it worries me a bit if that will be the matchup, because I think if he needs to grow defensively and Taylor isn't the finished product also as an 8, hopefully that can work. But maybe it's a better option to play with him and, as Papi Mento said, Franco van der Bomen.
Actually, some people in the comments were joking around because of that. Franco van der Bomen I saw, and I saw also somebody saying Branco de Boer. That was very original as well. Actually, I wanted to touch upon one of the comments that was given. I cannot see it directly. I think it's also from Ziggy saying, I'm not sure if Tahirović is better than Vos, for example. I see him more as an in-depth player for now. What do you think of that, Papi Mento?
Look, I know Vos is very good on the ball, but he also has to still prove himself as a defensive midfielder. Like, I know a lot of people are happy that Alvarez is leaving, for instance, but he's going to leave a gap. He checks a lot of boxes. physical, defensively, aerial ability, all the best in this team. So it's a tall order for both these players to take over that position, and it might not work out the way we want to, because both of them might need time to adjust.
Yeah. I think honestly, like after hearing Wayne and hearing what you said, Minto, you just triggered me a little bit. I think if you hear what he said about Tahirović, it's almost like he fits all the things that Vos lacks, and Vos has everything that maybe Tahirović at the moment. He's still young. They're both young. They can still develop a lot. But it feels like they can blend together, and you would have like a perfect player for the sixth position. But they both have like different qualities at the moment that we need. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I saw also somebody commenting on they prefer a footballing number 6.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that whole issue is a non-issue. Why? Because I think if you have one position in your team that's not a real baller but has other duties, it should be okay. The problem arises when you have a whole back line and a CDM that don't know how to work a ball. Then the problems arise at Ajax.
Yeah.
So for us to have a season like that, it's not going to happen only if we're unbalanced again.
Okay, so this is a very interesting point, actually, because we're moving to the transfers. We know that Edson Alvarez, Timber, they want to go, and Kudus, but let's focus on Edson Alvarez and Timber for now. So the latest news, just to recap, I think everybody already knows, but Timber, a little bit of mixed reporting. Mike Verwij is saying from Telegraaf that they reached a verbal agreement, and Fabrizio is saying final stages or almost there. And Mike Verwij is saying medical is already scheduled. Fabrizio, latest that I read before coming to the stream, is medical has not been scheduled, but it seems like it's going to happen, right? So we're missing out on Timber. Now looking at Edson, Dortmund pulled the plug. They don't want to pay so much money for Alvarez, and it seems like the coach wants or favors Emre Can right now as a DM. So now I'm not saying Edson Alvarez will stay, because probably maybe West Ham. We know that he's been linked with West Ham, and Declan Rice is going to Arsenal most likely. So maybe West Ham will, after selling Declan Rice, they will come to Ajax for Edson Alvarez. But in general, let's say we miss those two players. They leave Ajax, right, this summer. I mean, who do we have left? I saw also somebody saying in the comment earlier, can we expect Bassi to, be that guy next season that he wasn't this season? How do we cope with so much defensive, quality leaving this team? What do you guys think of that?
You have to buy players. That's the way you cope with it. And good players, and hopefully players that Sven can keep under the radar like he did with most of the transfers this season. And it's been a breath of fresh air, not seeing like that little paper, that krantje, like Louis van Gaal dubbed it when he was the head coach of the Netherlands. Come every day with news and rumors or havoc to create disturbance within Ajax. It's been a breath of fresh air to see 6 hours prior to a transfer being announced that it was actually the first signs that it could be a transfer coming in. And if Sven can do that and just uses his Diamantenaugen to scout some great potential players, I think good things are coming, man. And don't forget, we still have the Turkish guy. Help me out here,
Kaplan.
because...
Kaplan,
sorry?
Ahmed.
Kaplan, yes,
Ahmed
Kaplan. Okay, you just equalized it. You said Franco van der Bomen, but you helped me out with Kaplan, so you're off the hook. No, Kaplan, I have still high hopes for him, because what I saw from him in friendlies, it was quite good, although it was limited playing time, what I got to see. But I have high hopes for him being maybe a good addition to the squad. But we need some more signings, as simple as that. Bessie isn't good enough, in my opinion. He doesn't pass the eye test. And hopefully somebody comes in, because I heard some rumors earlier on, also last week, that some Premier League clubs or other clubs might be interested in him. So if that's true, I do not know if it's still the case, sell him. I like the guy. I like his attitude. I like his $1 million smile, I think he's a great personality, but he's just not good enough for the play that we like to play at Ajax. And he is liability if he plays. And you cannot play possession of football and be press resistant with a guy like that in the back.
So you saw enough of him, or after one season, saying, it's not it. It's not going to help us further.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, all right. Puppy, how do you feel about this whole narrative about the defensive back line going into next season? I mean, like Ajax said, it sounds great, buy players. But first of all, if we buy a player, it's going to be a young player. It has to be affordable. We're not in the Champions League anymore, And third of all, if we want somebody with experience, who's going to come? And can we pay, and can we afford him, basically?
Look, Juan, for me, it's not about experience, okay? I mean, we have Tahirović, we have Berghuis, we have Klaassen, we have Franco.
If you keep saying that...
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I'm just joking around. But if you look at Rensch, if you look at Timber leaving and we don't have anyone for the CB role, if you look at Edson Álvarez might be leaving. That's why I want Edson actually to leave, because I think he could be a CB and a CDM. And that would help us out for another season, or else it would be a completely new rebuild. But you can get a CB that is experienced, maybe a central defender. But I think Rensch needs a competitor there. I think about talent. I don't think about age. I want somebody with quality, high ceiling, somebody that's going to put pressure on Rensch to get the most out of him, because I didn't like him this season at all. We need a double striker for the. Robbie can't do it alone. Who's going to be the backup striker for him? I think we still need players.
One moment. So I'm hearing what you're saying, but if you look at the players that we have after Timber is leaving and Edson is leaving, hypothetically, we're talking about this scenario. A lot of experience, European experience, Eredivisie experience, is leaving us. You say you don't care about experience. So basically, if somebody has a high ceiling and we have a young back line for you, it's fine. That's enough for you. Is that what you're saying?
Because I saw last season what experience means. I saw Hato play and I saw Wijndal play, and the experience he had at AZ didn't mean shit for him to play well at Ajax. So that's why I'm saying it's more about the quality of the player than the experience.
Okay, that's what you mean. So if we would have, hypothetically, 4 Hatos at the back, you'll be fine with it.
No, you need to compare. You have to have balance. So there's need to
Understood.
be aerial
I mean,
ability.
like in terms of quality, potential, etc.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Ajax?
No, sorry, I highly disagree. I understand what Papi is saying, and I understand the arguments he's using, and he's not wrong in that case, but it isn't applicable to all situations. And I think you need a leader, somebody experienced to play alongside those young talents, and especially a leader leaving, because Timber is the second captain behind Tahirović. He should have been a strongholder within the team, but he didn't play that peachy like last season, in my opinion. But it is a leader leaving because it's your co-captain. So either you bring in a world-class player that can be that leader also at a young age, or you need somebody to blend those players together. Can also be partly somebody in front of the defense, but I like to have a commanding type of player that is a little bit more experienced, at the back also. Because some things, hold on. Some things you can do with your football quality and with your talent, but also experience playing a lot in Europe already, recognizing certain scenarios that you have already been in with different teams in different situations can help you out in making the right decision. So instead of all those youngsters needing to make the fault to learn from it, you can also recognize it as a professional and as a player that is more mature to prevent certain situations and also coach the other players around you to not make that mistake. And that is something you need throughout your squad also.
Go ahead, Papi.
I saw De Ligt play. Yeah, I saw De Ligt play. He showed leadership at 18. So, things like that don't mean much to me. And when I see people saying, okay, let's go for Davinson Sanchez, it's another Bassi.
Yeah, but
nothing on the ball, but he's experienced and he can defend. But
Papi, it's a great.
You're going in the same way.
It's a great argument that you bring to the table. But I already said you are not wrong, but you can't have it on 4 positions all the same that you are saying as the argument you're making. You can't have 4 De Ligts or 4 Hatos. You have to have a balance. So yes, you can have it on certain position in the defense, but you have to have somebody more mature and experienced also within your back line. And it can be an experienced player that is at Ajax for 3 or 4 years, like a Martinez has been, like a Timber was. But if you
Okay, how long
do
has
not
Renge,
have that at the moment.
How long has Renge been with us?
Yeah, but he's been injured a long time. But in all fairness, Puppy, Renge is a top
team,
10
even
golden
though
boy.
he's young.
Renge is a top 10 golden boy. He is a top talent, like top 10 golden boy, man. I do not know what you're saying.
All right, so
Magnificent.
look, yeah, I think it's important, just to summarize that it's not like or we have experience or we have quality. It's not one we have one and the other one doesn't count. It has to be both, ideally, right?
Exactly.
And I also you touched upon that already. Thank you for reading the comments, by the way, which I'm doing as well. There are people saying about Davinson Sanchez. I also saw it on Twitter a couple of times, these last few weeks. If there was a possibility, hypothetically, no, not even no.
Let me take you back to 2017, 2018, to a certain Europa League final against Manchester United. Why did we lose that game?
That was the
16,
year before.
17.
Sorry, the year before. Why did we lose that game?
One of the reasons is because he couldn't build up.
Exactly. And why did we lose it? Because Mourinho, I do not like the guy, I do not like his philosophy, but he just picked us apart. He pressured all the players that could play ball and could build up, left Davinson Sanchez alone, and what happened? So if you want to compete on the highest level, you need players that are comfortable on the ball, not like a more polished player like a Bessie is, because he's a better defender and he's a better player, and he was terrific for us in that season, but he has huge liabilities also. And I think he didn't play like a lot last seasons for Spurs. He wasn't the starter anymore, right? If I'm not wrong. So
yeah. I was thinking, right, because there's so many holes, right, in this team going into next season, because we already lost 10 players last season, and now we're losing Edson, Timber, okay, at the back, just focusing there. Can we cope? Can we make Ajax good again in one summer? Or do we also have to find players that are maybe, I don't mean it in disrespect way, but if you break something at home and you cannot fix it right away, you use duct tape, right? So
I do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying Davinson Sanchez is a duct tape, but I mean in general, can you find a player that is like just plugging the holes, keeping the level up, going into like building up to the seasons to come?
Wouldn't opt
or are you
that.
saying like, no, this is not the ideal solution for me?
I wouldn't opt for that at all. I would rather have another gap year, but with talented players like Papi is also mentioning, that can grow and that can be that added value for us the season after. So like for the long run, it is the right fit. Then getting somebody from Daniel Levy at Tottenham that is like expensive as hell, not like to negotiate with him. And it's from Tottenham, how good can he be at this stage of his career? Because he probably declines. He probably declined from the Ajax standard
ever since we lost to Spurs, man. You've been so sour.
No, but in all fairness, no, it's not the solution. Just get a proper defender or somebody from. I like players from South America, but get somebody that also is a little bit comfortable with playing the ball. But the grinta they have, it's almost naturally the central defenders there, except for Magayan. But get a top one, or maybe already one with a little bit of Europe experience already. I believe that guy from Lens, it was last season. We were in contact with them, Medina or something.
Medina.
That kind of player, I liked, but we went for Bessie.
Did he play for Lens? I'm confused.
I thought it was Lens, but I'm not sure.
Okay, Papi, actually, I know what your answer is going to be to my question, but basically that's also what you're alluding to, right? If you could choose between buying an experienced player, but he doesn't have it, you rather go with talented players who are not ready yet, but they do have the potential. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, just to nuance it a little bit, I think there are too many new players for it not to be a rebuild season. And we've seen with Ajax, the more seasoned we get, the more we can fit that puzzle piece and really make a run in the Champions League or, have a terrific season. But we're not there yet. There's too many inconsistencies, too many players that haven't played the Eredivisie yet or haven't been in the first team at Ajax yet. It has to develop. And still, I'm contemplating like our veterans, will they be able to compete at this level next season, or will it be more of what we saw last season?
All right. Okay. I think we covered that pretty well. Just a question on the evaluation of the players. Dortmund said on Edson. Let's be honest about that. And I know that they already have a DM, so maybe that also has to do with it. But they didn't want to go that far for Edson in terms of the price. I mean, I know how the market works. It's what the club wants to pay for it, and Premier League clubs pay more, etc. But what do you think is a realistic valuation for Edson Álvarez, Ajax, in your view?
40 to 45 millions, including bonuses. So maybe
Cool.
40 as a base signing fee, and maybe the bonuses can pump it up to 45. I think that is realistic. And
Okay.
yeah, if they do not want to pay it, good riddance, man. Go ahead and use your Emre Can, because we're not, having a sale at Ajax or something. So there are plenty more fish in the sea to get Alvarez, plenty more clubs. And if he stays another season, fine. I'm not sad about that. I'm not sad about that.
I think it's unlikely because I think he only has 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah,
so,
but the season is still long, and the transfer window also. And yeah, I want him, if he's leaving, and I want him to have a good club also, because he deserves it after all those seasons. So no negativity there. But if a Premier League club comes, 40 million will be doable, man.
What about you, Puppy? What do you think is a fair valuation? Do you agree with Ajax?
Yeah, man. 45 sounds reasonable to me. He's a leader in this team. He has great aerial ability, great defensive player. In a different team with better players around him, he might excel in his role as a defensive pivot. And we saw this season, Juan, even though when Ajax was playing bad, Alvarez still was standing out. So I will be sad if he goes. I would be very happy if he stays another season. I think he could get a little bit of that experience he had and what he learned into Vos and Tahirović as a how do you say that, a bridging period, let's say. And he has two possibilities of playing, maybe central defender or the pivot role. But you have two options with him, so he's versatile.
So if Edson would stay, you would be happy, because you're saying, well, if Timber leaves, maybe he can fill that gap together with Hato on the central defense.
For example, yeah.
Okay.
And then we wouldn't need.
I'm being honest here. Yes, it would be lovely if he stayed, but I think it's time for him to go.
Yeah.
I think no, but seriously, I think the moment is there to move on, not only for him, but also keeping him motivated for another season in the Eredivisie. Not only that, I'm a fan of Alvarez and what he brings to the table, because in the Ajax system, in the squad that we had last seasons, he has certain qualities that we lacked on all positions and with all other players. Yes, he wasn't the greatest building up, but if you just pick him apart and look at him as the player that he isn't world class. And I've been saying that a long time. I like him, but he will not play at the top 5 in the Premier League. It will be a mid-table team, like at the top of his ability. It's a stretch for him to play top 5.
West Ham United.
So maybe that would be a good club for him. But if you scout well and you move that transfer fund that come into a player that is more of a greater package as full, you can have a better player on his position, because he has his liabilities also.
But Ajax, the thing is, right, I'm going to say something here. I've noticed, I've been covering Ajax now. We've been covering Ajax. We see a lot of messages on Twitter, people reacting, the Ajax fan base. It surprised me. It always surprised me how quickly we are to say, no, man, let him leave. We can get money for him. We'll find a better player. But that's not that easy. We don't always find a player that's ready to go. So I feel sometimes like we're too, we think too simplistic about how difficult it is to get a player.
Yeah, but you have to be realistic also. We got in Branco van den Bomen. That is probably Branco. And here's a bridge for you, Papi. You remember that 94 matchup between the Netherlands and Brazil? and the guy that made the free kick
The
from
3-2.
almost halfway
And the
of the pitch. That's
Yeah,
Branco. So
Branco.
remember him like that,
Branco,
But
yeah.
that was a little bit of a side step there. No, you got in Branco from the Boma, and you got in Tahirović now. You still have Taylor. You have other players also for the 10 position. There's also midfield. So it would be bad if you brought in new signings and still keep Alvarez another season, because you can only play a few. And playing Alvarez, Branco van der Boma, and Tahirović on the same midfield isn't going to work, because it's
No, I
too much of
understand.
the
No,
That's
similar.
not what I said.
No. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you say that. I'm just saying it's time for him to
Understood.
go, because he will
Yeah.
be a problem for the other players in the squad. Because
Okay.
if Alvarez stays, you play him.
Yeah.
That means
Yeah,
you
but
bench
you
other
don't need
players.
to. But you don't need to play him on the 6. And what do we have as a central right back option? Go.
No,
Timber is
but
gone.
what is
other
this?
options do we have?
what is it kind of an
What
argument? Man?
balance would you have?
No,
What
but that
balance
is
would you-
like a
Guys,
totally
guys,
different
give each
story.
other time.
Hold on.
What
If you
bal-
play,
no, you
no,
hold
hold
on.
on.
No,
Hold on.
wait,
If you
wait.
play Alvarez, what are you going to do with Branco van der Boma or Tahirović? Where are you going
Just
to play
now,
them?
I said next to Hato, put Alvarez. You would have a balance. You have 2 types of players, and you would cover a right back position, and you would check box the experience part, because the experience we have, and he is also a captain on the pitch. Because we say co-captain Timber, but Alvarez was the one yelling at his team to motivate them on the pitch.
But
So-
do you agree? But Papi, do you agree with Ajax though? Apart from where he plays, and I understand what you're saying, Papi, and I definitely understand what you're saying, Ajax. But do you agree with Ajax in the sense that his time has come, also mentally, the motivation, because he already got like his chance to go to Chelsea last summer, didn't go through. Now he had personal terms agreed with Dortmund basically, but now they don't want him. They don't want to pay that amount of money. So it feels like he wants to go. He wants
He's ready
to
to
be
go.
out.
Yeah, I know. And if he goes, well deserved, man. He did everything for us that he could have done.
Yeah.
But we could also see a Tagliafico possibility of a gentleman's agreement, and that he stays another season. And I wouldn't mind that.
But don't
Why
we need
not?
the money? Papi?
Depends on what you sell Kudus for, because we have a gap of 100 million, right? So we sold Timber now for, let's say, 45.
No, but
Then
not
depends
only
on what.
no, but not only on the fee, also in terms of salary, because I would imagine Edson is not playing for peanuts, right? He has a decent salary.
Yeah, but a lot of people in our team are having a decent salary. Get rid of those first, because he's proved his worth.
All right, so it's clear you want him to stay. All right, perfect. Okay, guys. Before I go to the comments, just quickly on the schedule, the fixtures, guys. It was published yesterday. Thoughts on that, just quickly on the fixtures, Ajax.
Yeah, they are fixtures. What do you say about? I only know that, like, I believe, if I remember correctly, that we already play Feyenoord in the 6th match. So the 6th match of the 34 is already against Feyenoord. And for my liking, that's a little bit too early for a Klassieker or a big game to be played. So
You rather have it a little bit further up the season.
I do not like it. Usually I'm used to like closer to the, the winter break, the bigger matches come. And then sometimes also after the winter break, you already have a few big matches, sometimes they crowd it. Like the first part of the second half already a few big, and the last part of the first half. But now in the 6th game already against Feyenoord, it's going to be difficult, because it's a big game already.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the first 10 games already, we're playing almost all the big teams.
Yeah.
So and
especially for a team that needs to gel together.
Exactly.
It's better for them to have like a few easier opponents. But the easy opponents in the Eredivisie can also be sometimes an obstacle for Ajax. So, but it would be easier to have a little easier opponents in the beginning, like gelling together a bit, building momentum, and then play the big matches. But hey, you have to beat them to win the Eredivisie, so we know where we stand at the beginning of the season.
That's true. Actually, that's a good point, because early in the season, if you play against the big teams, you already clearly can see your deficiencies, right? So
But one thing is in favor of us compared to last seasons. We need to play qualifiers, and we've been placed within the group stage of the Champions League for seasons now. So we have a longer how do you say that? A longer preseason. Yeah. And more matches under our belt when the Eredivisie begins. So hopefully that also rubs off in the results and the level of play that we show in those earlier matches. Because a lot of matches, and traditionally look at the first games that Ajax usually plays when the Eredivisie starts, a lot of draws and point losses usually at that first game. So except for last season, but the seasons before. So hopefully now with a longer run of matches and a longer preseason, we can maybe perform better at the first stages of the Eredivisie.
Yeah. Poppy, your thoughts on the fixtures? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say good points from Ajax that we have the longer preseason, so it might help. But still, I think we have a lot of new guys, and I wished those big games were a little bit later than just in October. It feels like very early, and it might cost us because we are not fitting in yet or gelled yet or whatever. But it could also be the situation Ajax is describing, and it could all work out because we have that longer preseason. So that's one. And I was checking the last couple of games because we had a tough couple of games in the last season at the end. And I saw in April we have Feyenoord away, then Twente, and then all the games after that, and those are 7 games, 4 home games, 3 away games. I think all those games should be winnable. So it might already be decided in April.
And we actually do not play the Johan Cruyff Schaal or the Johan Cruyff Shield, however you want to call it, for the first time in years. So let's see how Feyenoord will cope with starting later in the season. Do not have to play preliminary rounds against the PSV that already had to, because that were traditionally harsh games for us, because we played against PSV for a few seasons and they were already weeks in their preseason and we just started. Some players just getting back from their vacation. So good luck with that.
Yeah, I think I would add to that. Like you said, Papi, October is really tough. I think we have a lot of games in October, like the top games all in October. And not only that, there's the international break in between as well. So it breaks, like the rhythm as well of the team. I don't think if that's ideal. Second thing I think is we're playing Europa League now. We know it's Thursday. So a lot of games will be on Sunday. I also saw that we're scheduled, again, it's conceptual. It can change. We have a lot of evening games, night games. 8 o'clock I saw, 9 o'clock I saw.
Are you guys a fan of that, by the way?
I'm sorry?
The 8 o'clock games? Are you guys fan of the 8 o'clock games?
I don't mind it occasionally, but I saw a couple of them. I don't know if that's... Yeah, I don't really prefer those.
You mean Eredivisie-wise, right? Late games.
Yeah.
Traditionally, usually the early games and the late games for Ajax aren't the greatest, especially traditionally the early ones, 12:30.
Yeah,
I do not have too much experience with the 8 o'clocks because is something of the last years, I believe, and we didn't play them a lot. Also, maybe because of the Champions League, because it's early and close to Sunday evenings, so to less of time of being able to rest your players. But the early games are usually problems. So hopefully it's not the same with the late games.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Guys, just before I end the show, just going over the comments quickly. So first of all, I have to say, can you guys please get the likes up? I saw we only have 27 likes. Mike is saying, so please, if you guys enjoy the show, please give us a bit more of likes. We would appreciate that one.
We would like that.
Love, guys.
Yeah, we would like that a lot.
We would love it, actually. Guys, just a couple of other news, quick mentions. Dave Vos extended his contract for young Ajax. Martijn Reuser is going to be the under-17 coach. Some news on the loans. Univar to Twente. Baas might go to NEC. quickly on those.
Or Sparta. Or
Sparta is still possible. NEC is on pole position right now. We heard.
Maybe we owe them one, right? After getting their head coach.
Good one. That's a good one. So, do you guys want to comment on those? Either one of those quickly?
Yeah, I want to comment on the Unifor one because it's the first time that something that Sven has done doesn't get my liking. Because I loved that he didn't negotiate a buy clause for Twente to take over the player permanently. But in the media, and I do not know if it's true, I've heard that they negotiated a sell-on fee. So when we eventually sell Univar, they get a certain percentage for him. And this is a bad thing in my opinion, because Twente should be really glad to have players from our academy, and especially high-valued players from our academy, because Univar isn't just a player. He's one of our dubbed, it still has to shown, but dubbed as one of our better academy players. They should be happy that they are able to get them into the squad. Same with Saladin, that worked out for them also. This is the first crack, and I'm not saying that it is something that will progress further, because I'm very happy with Sven up until now. But this is something that isn't that I'm not too fond of, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Puppy, anything you want to add? One of the things we mentioned.
Look, of course, the Univar thing saddens me because he was dubbed as one of the top players coming from the youth. But also, he went on a loan to a club that didn't play him much. Bad decision, in my opinion. Yeah. So I'm glad that he's getting an opportunity to go to a Dutch club. Maybe they will appreciate his qualities more. And we are a little bit more loose with using talents and young players, I think, than foreign competitions. So yeah, I'm happy he's getting a chance somewhere else. But Ajax said something, and he's been dubbed the top talent, whatever. I mean, but that was in doubt, right? I mean, you can dub somebody a top talent, but he didn't show it yet. So he still has to show it.
That's not why I'm saying it. I do not want Sven to set a precedent for other teams in the future that this is a possibility. Because let's break it down. A loan deal is a win-win situation if it works out for both parties. As a club, you distribute your player to get experience and maybe be of an asset in the future. And as a lower tier club, not that Twente is a lower tier club, but as a mid-table club or a club like in the top 10 or something, you get a quality player that you do not have within your team or within your academy. So you will have a better fighting chance during the season. So if we now, as a club, start paying for the benefit, the only benefit that you get from loaning him out, it isn't a win-win situation anymore. It's more of a win situation for the club getting the player than for the club loaning him out, because you're also losing funds for it in the future. And I understand the thought process behind it, because Twente is like, yeah, we're educating your player and you're reaping the benefits, but that's the long term. They are reaping the benefits on the short term. That's my 2 cents. And the precedent set.
Depending on if he plays well, right, Ajax?
Yeah, but I want to add,
but I have to add, I hope Sven was that smart that he also had a demand towards Twente. Okay, I will give you a certain percentage, but he has to play 80 or 90% of the games that you play in the Eredivisie. Because what if they bench him and only play him 5 times or something?
Yeah, but I wanted to react on that. Exactly the last thing that you said. Actually, let's say it's a 5% or 10% sell-on clause, right? That also gives kind of a motivation to the team, to Twente in this sense, to play him. Because how many times in the past have we had players going on loan to another team and they didn't play? I'm not saying that's the only reason they will play, but it will be an extra incentive, because that team, Twente in this sense, if they play him, his value will go up. If they sell him, they will benefit from that.
I understand the reasoning behind it, but it's a bad precedent to set, because loan deals have been there for decades, and they should be happy getting a top quality player, one of still, I'm not saying already proven, but dubbed as one of the better youth products within the academy. And you can argue all you want, but that is the way he was dubbed like last seasons. So for Eredivisie standards, they're getting a great player. And that should be sufficient enough. And I think you should do it the other way around. I think like the big clubs loaning out players should start setting precedents for, if you not play him the first half of the season enough, like a certain amount of games, we can cancel the loan deal and then you can just loan him out to another club. That is something that should happen.
Maybe this is a very good idea for Ajax itself. I mean, we were talking just like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, how do we get a good player if we cannot afford him? Let's say we can get somebody on loan and we can negotiate a sell-on clause as well. I mean, again, it's a very creative way of finding a good player and benefiting also from the player playing at your club.
I'm not a fan of Ajax loaning players. Never been, never will be.
Loaning
them ourselves.
Yeah.
Loaning them ourselves.
Yeah. All right. I'm not a fan either, but extreme measures sometimes, extreme situations. Who knows?
For my liking, like loaning players from bigger clubs make you a little bit of a satellite club. Not definitely, because you have to have like a certain, a link together to be a satellite club. Like maybe Ajax and Sparta are a little bit. They're working together, But if you accept loaning players from other big teams like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or a Manchester City or whatever, you're actually giving in to the role that you're not competing with them anymore. And I know that it is difficult to compete with them money-wise because football is being ruined by the way it is like the last 10, 15 years, and it's getting worse each year. But if you start loaning players, it's like you're giving in to the role that you're not competing with them like historically anymore. And this is something that I shouldn't do.
I see that a little bit different, though. Look, we've seen throughout the years that there's a gap between young Ajax and coming into the Ajax 1. And that gap is not going to be closed by just playing young Ajax. So they need experience somewhere else. So why not loan? In that situation, perfect to loan. I would just say if they're older players, no, of course you don't want to loan older players or loan out older players. But for youngsters, it's a great tool for them to be more experienced, more, more balanced in the way they play, to come to Ajax and have a chance in Ajax 1. It's not going to be always the youth coming in like Timber.
Did you understand? Did you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not saying we should not loan out players. I'm saying we should not loan players from other clubs for Ajax.
Yeah, look, I just want to add to that, right? Just to be clear, so people don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not talking about loaning players, with all due respect, like we did with Babel for half a year or with Idrissi half a year. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real additions, quality additions to the team, because there is no other option. If we would go and buy a player, basically, it would be too much money we cannot afford. And if the only option is to loan a quality player, again, exception. It's not my favorite thing to do. I agree with Ajax on that, but I think you should have an open mind about it.
The only thing when I have an open mind about it, and it's always been like that, is yes, you can loan a player, but only if you like negotiate a fixed fee of which you can buy the player after a season.
Yeah,
like you did with Luka, but you did not opt for it, which is logical because it was 10 million and he didn't perform, and he isn't an Ajax player, like style-wise.
But Milik, for instance, Milik.
Yeah, that's a good one. The only construction that I agree with loaning is agreeing on a fixed fee that the club that loans the player, in this case Ajax, can indefinitely take over the player from the other club for a fixed fee. That's the only thing, because otherwise you are developing the player for another team. And that is not something I should do.
Situation. A Broby situation as we had last season, yeah.
All right, guys. I think this is the end. I didn't cover a lot of the comments this time. I apologize for that. I will do it next time. But we had also a guest. We were talking about Tahirović. The season started, preseason. Today, the guys came. Not everyone. the guys that are on international duties, they will join later. I think 1 or 2 weeks from now. But yeah, the preseason is starting. They will start training outside on Saturday, and yeah, I mean, in a few weeks we'll play the friendlies, and we look forward to what's about to come, especially on the transfer side as well. Go ahead, Ajax.
Can I mention one more thing, because
Of
we
course.
mentioned it in the video upcoming before we broadcast it.
Yeah.
Sahbi would be here today.
Yeah.
He was also mentioned within the video, but he's a little bit under the weather at the moment, so he wasn't at the best condition to join us in the stream. So I want to wish him a speedy recovery. It's not something big or something, but not good enough to like discuss with me and Papi and Juan in this video. So
Yeah.
hope you are well soon, bro. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it.
Absolutely. Good one, Ajax. I didn't want to bring it up, because everybody can get sick, so it's all good. Unfortunately, it was today, on the live show, but before the live show. But he'll be fine. He'll be back. You'll be back, Ajax. So all good. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week, and take care. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.